with us today. Hold on one second. It's still spinning. Good evening, everybody. Welcome Jerry Vaugh tonight. He's going to discuss his son who is incarcerated, who is innocent of his crime, and Jerry can explain it better than anybody can. I've heard bits and pieces of it, but I do believe Jerry that he is innocent of his crime. Jerry, why don't you share a little bit about the circumstances that surrounded your son?
Well, this all began back in 2005. At that time, he was 18 years old. He had a couple of acquaintances that he knew of and stuff, plus a young lady that he went to school with. So this guy kept trying to get my son to come to his house, and he kept refusing and stuff. So one day he had went to meet with the girl that he went to high school with, which again, the older guy there was her boyfriend, and they had a child together. So he went over for a visit and stuff, and through the course of the evening, this guy and another guy there, can't remember the name at this moment. So they started giving him marijuana, smoking and stuff, and then they started smoking coke. And they've done this for several hours, it's my understanding. So as it turned out, they did this in order to get him under their control, which again, yes, it ended up that way. But he ended up taking this guy and another couple of guys out to an individual's home and stuff. And but prior to all of that, we found out that the guy's name was Joseph Taylor, and his girlfriend at that time was Crystal Ballard. So it ended up going to this man's house, and the older guy ended up shooting and killing this man. But he tried to get my son to do it and take the blame for it. But my son did not shoot this man, period. But prior to even to doing that, a plan had been made by Joseph Taylor and his girlfriend at that time, Crystal Ballard. They had found them on videos at a local store purchasing duct tape and black paint. And once they went to this man's house, they spray painted the cameras that were outside the property and stuff. So this girl knew what was going to transpire. She knew what was going to happen. So apparently, again, there was a total of 4 guys, which included my son into that, which again, he was under the influence of drugs that they kept giving him all evening long. So he ended up driving them to the man's house. So in the process, and later, after this man was killed by Joseph Taylor, I began to find out information that once everything come to a head, the prosecutors in this case was a personal friend of the victim. They had grew up together and went to school together. So with me knowing all of this, I had went to his attorney to request a change of venue because there was nothing going to happen in a fair way with this. But the attorney had said, well, he would talk to the judge about it. Well, I knew then that was the wrong thing for me to tell this attorney. So as time went on, I began to find out more things about the situation, which once they arrested my son and 3 others that were involved in this, whatever they decided they wanted.
How old was your son at this point?
At this point, he was 18 years old.
Okay, so he was still a kid.
He was still very young.
Yeah.
He was still a kid, yes. Yes. So, once this man was killed and stuff, I also found out later by a friend of this man, Joseph Taylor, another friend of his, that my son was supposed to have been killed that night himself to make it look like a murder-suicide. So, knowing this, when the prosecutors all got involved and stuff, the attorney that we had was Bobby Joe Cox in Dayton, and turns out he was worthless. By meeting with him to have him to represent my son, he was court appointed. We met with my son while he was in jail, along with his attorney, to have my son to cooperate with the attorney, which our discussion was for the attorney to go to the prosecutors to make a deal for his testimony. And as it turned out, the attorney did nothing. He did nothing whatsoever to make a deal for his testimony. My son testified against the other co-defendants. But prior to the court and stuff, even before any pleas had been made, the judge in the case to the attorney had made the statements to him that if my son did not cooperate, he would give him 50 years in prison. So knowing that, he decided that he would have to plead guilty to this case, knowing he was not voluntarily involved. But again, meeting with the attorney, sitting in the courtroom while my son's giving testimony against Joseph Taylor, who actually killed the man, his attorney informed me that, in a way, that he would get 12 years as a result of this. So time went on with this case. It was all drug out, for several weeks. As it turned out, as I said, this guy's girlfriend was involved with her boyfriend, Joseph Taylor, to go buy duct tape and spray paint. And then again, she knew something was going to happen. So the prosecutors talked to her and informed her if she did not cooperate and tell them that the idea of doing this was my son's idea, they would prosecute her and take her son away from them. So again, she was given total immunity in this case, which should have never happened. She knew that something was going to transpire that night. So she informed the prosecutors that she overheard the discussion that it was my son's idea, which is false. The time went on and stuff, and with the trials and stuff, he testified against two of the co-defendants in court, and one made a plea deal. The other two made a plea deal in the cases. But Joseph Taylor decided he wanted to go to trial and stuff, and he's actually the one that actually killed this man. And again, as I said, the victim was a personal friend of the prosecutor in Montgomery County, Matt Heck. Which again, the prosecutors on state's witnesses also are supposed to make a deal with the defendants, and they did not. They did not offer him a deal whatsoever. So we had hired additional attorneys and stuff later. I hired another attorney for an appeal, which he got the appeal filed, and we had a hearing on that. But prior to going to court on that appeal, me going through documents on the court site, I found a summary brief that the assistant prosecutor wrote to the appeals court, which she lied to the court herself, stating that my son testified in court that he himself shot and killed this man, which was not true. So I informed his attorney of that, and he said he would take care of it. So long story short on that, he did not. So once the hearing was going on, the prosecutor made her statements about different issues, but my son's attorney did no rebuttal questioning whatsoever. He more or less turned him over to the appeals court and the prosecutor himself. So later on, having meetings with that attorney also, they informed me that they were informed by the prosecutors not to pursue this case any longer, that if they did, that not to come back to their prosecution with any other future cases for any deals, because they would not get it if they pursued my son's case. So again, he's been in there since 2005. He's been a very model inmate. While he was at Lancaster, from the 10 years that he was there, he ended up getting his apprenticeship in steam plant heating and air conditioning there. He's a very fantastic artist, and I have posted some of his artwork in the past.
Hey, see if he could do a hanky with a new logo on it.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Cause I seen the tiger that he did.
Yeah, there's several other.
Right.
I will send you some of them. But anyway, we hired another attorney in Columbus to review everything, and of course, when Governor Kasich was in office, he was going to file for clemency, but he failed to do that also. So he has really, over the course of the years, he has not had any real representation by any attorney whatsoever. Nothing.
And to hire an attorney, especially a good one, costs a lot of money.
That is true. Even though we've hired these attorneys and paid out thousands of dollars.
Right.
He had the court-appointed attorney as a suggested that he get a court-appointed attorney by a family member who is also an defense attorney, which I'm sorry, he's my brother-in-law, but he walked away also. Because
you got to say how it is. You got to say how it is.
The prosecutors in Montgomery County, as I do know for a fact, they control defense attorneys in cases. Now, Bobby Joe Cox had another case prior to my son's, and he got a good deal on that kid. He got a good deal. But later on, too, a friend of ours that lived around the corner from us, her nephew was murdered in Dayton by 4 individuals. So the one young man who did the most damage to the victim, had the most blood on him, he turned state's witness and testified against the other 3 co-defendants, and for his testimony, he got 5 years in prison. Now again, my son was state's witness against the other co-defendants. He got 28 to 33 to life. It's an unjust system, it's inconsistencies, and it's abuse of power.
Well, we need you to send this YouTube to news channels, Innocent Project. We need to get people involved, and if there's any attorneys out there that would be willing to donate their time. I know that some of the larger law firms have pro bono sections in there. No family can pay $40,000-$50,000 like that. That's probably what it's going to take, if not more, to get your son home.
Well, that is true. But even though with this guy's girlfriend, Crystal Ballard, she she was out one evening with a couple of other friends of my son's, and she ended up making comments, which was recorded by one of the friends. She made comments to them, and it was recorded, that my son really had nothing to do with this voluntarily. He was forced into it, and if he did not do what Joe Taylor had wanted him to do, she didn't know what would have happened to him.
He probably would have been killed.
Well, that was the reason to understand was part of the plan anyway. But it backfired because they would have not had transportation away from this man's property. So, I mean, even though they went out there, my son had my truck. The problem, and also one of the additional things in this case, there was no evidence whatsoever that tied any of them to this crime, other than the fact that it's hearsay, he said, she said.
Right.
And then people started talking about this or that because of Joseph Taylor telling people and a couple of the other individuals. Now, the fourth person that was involved in this, the police department didn't even know. The detectives didn't even know there was a fourth person involved. Period. Until my son informed them that the fourth person involved gave them his name and showed them where he lived out by Xenia, Ohio. So that is when his cooperation with them, but he cooperated 100% in the whole situation, and they still give him 28 to 33 to life.
So basically, yeah, they convicted him just like they have on so many, just by hearsay, but not by any solid evidence.
There was no solid evidence against none of them, all hearsay. He got that sentencing because of the fact that the victim was a family friend of the prosecutor in Montgomery County, Matt Beck. That's why he got the time that he did.
So when does he go to the parole board?
Well, as I understand,
it's day for day on his minimum. It's not 2/3 like it was under the old law.
Well, I'm not sure if he can go in 20 years or if it has to be 28.
If he has 28 to life, he has to do the 28.
Right.
Because it's mandatory.
Before he can go to the parole board.
And how long has he been down?
Going on 16 years.
So he would have 10 more years before he could see them.
Yes.
So really, we need to help people like this out. All of us are getting older, and we want to see our loved ones come home. At least in our lifetime, and we gotta get these videos out. We gotta get people to join our YouTube, so that we can start, doing our YouTubes live, where people can watch it while you're doing it. But we need 1,000 viewers.
That's correct.
And we got like 20 now. 20 in a week.
The only thing that my son is actually truly guilty of on his own is allowing himself to be taken advantage of. But
he was a kid. Anybody's
going to take the advantage of you in any way they can.
Yeah, but he was a kid then. He didn't have time to really mature. He did a lot of his growing up when he got locked up, if you think of it.
That is true. The victim's own children, according to the investigation, could have and should have been charged with complicity themselves. They were not. The victim's son, prior to this, would inform people that was safe.
Do you know if any of his children are in prison for any reason?
No, they are not. His daughter is still living up in Brookville. His son did die in a car accident later after the case was over. But they still should have been charged with complicity according to the evidence.
Right.
His son would take $50 bills, stacks of them, and just take them to school and pass them out.
Yeah. So right now, what do you need to have done to get him back into court to get his case overturned?
We need a good attorney that's willing to review this because the corruption in the court system.
I'm going to start calling some of these large law firms, Dayton, Columbus, and Cuyahoga County, to see if I could get them to agree to handle one case a year.
Well, again, like I said, you turn state's evidence, state's witness, depending on who you are, what the case is, you get 5 years or you get 28 years.
Right. Well, your son did turn state witness, correct?
Yes, absolutely, he did.
Okay. Did he have it in writing?
Did he have it in writing?
Yes.
That I do not know. That the attorney he had, when I called him to get the files of the proceedings and everything, the attorney had already destroyed the files.
So I just kind of wonder, was that attorney work or somebody to sabotage your case, or what? I'm not accusing him of anything, but it's weird.
Well, again, like I said, he was court-appointed attorney. The prosecutors control the attorneys, but this attorney, Bobby Joe Cox, he was paid through the courts, by the county to do what he did, which was nothing whatsoever. But he had the gall to petition the court later for additional money. He wasn't paid enough, and he was paid an additional $9,000
Right.
for nothing. Nothing whatsoever.
Huh. Now, if someone wanted to help out financially, or if they are an attorney, how would they get a hold of you to be able to help?
Well, I have an email address. It's location jerry.vaugh.anna@gmail.com, or they can call me at 937-760-1605.
Hey, put your email in the comment section, and not your phone number, but your email in the comment section. If anybody would like to help, and we need to share this YouTube video. It'll be downloaded within the next hour, and I'll send it to you in the email, and you could forward it to news channels, the Innocence Project, and I'm going to do the same thing, by the way.
Well, even with the second attorney with the ones that we actually hired, he also drug his feet so low that he failed to file for post-conviction. He let time expire. He did nothing. Nothing. Me questioning him, telling him to get these things done. We have time to do it. We have time to do it. Time expired, and he did nothing except take the money that we paid him. And again, walked away, basically, because prosecutors authority not to fight the case. Once I found this all out, I fired him.
Does the attorney have to be from Montgomery, or can it be from Franklin County?
It can be from anywhere in the state of Ohio.
And an attorney that lives in another state that can work in Ohio. I try to get Jeff. He said, "Well, I'm not quite a lawyer yet, and I would have to pass the test in Ohio." I said, "Well, we welcome you."
Well, that is true. There is an organization in Cincinnati, which I took all documents that I had to let them review it, which they did, and they said there was there was wrongdoing in the situation or in the case court proceedings. Number one, because in the appeals, the prosecutor lied to the court in writing. So that's a felony itself. She should be charged with that herself.
Yeah, we got. I think 7 years is the statute of limitation, except rape and murder.
The time frame's all expired. Yes, yes on that. You know, but again, his attorney at that time should have filed with the appeals court that she lied to the court or himself. Again, he walked away. You know.
Right.
And it's very difficult to find an attorney who would really want to take the case. I've even called a couple of the organizations in Columbus. Once they pull things up, said, no, we can't help you, we can't help you, we can't help you. Well, again, number one, you can't just pull something up and read the headlines. You got to review it before you can make a decision, you know? So, he is saying they're innocent of murder itself. He is guilty of allowing himself to be taken advantage of.
Right.
And had that take conversation of the three individuals that he really had nothing to do with this, but she had to say that it did in order to get immunity and prevent the court from taking her side.
But I think our number one priority would be to get him back into court and prove his innocence. Everything else can be handled afterwards. And I think some of the people would have to be held accountable during anything, like if they were taken back for post-conviction or whatever. I'm not an attorney, but I'm just using it as an illustration. I went back for post-conviction after 10 years. And I thought everybody said I was going to get it, and then they denied it.
Well, they even, the detectives even violated his Miranda rights. They gave him a piece of paper explaining to him, this piece of paper is stating what we've gone over, what we've gone over, what we've gone over. You need to sign here. When he did, he signed his rights away.
He was a kid. He was kind.
Yes, he was kind.
Yeah.
Yes, he was kind.
And by no means are we saying every officer or prosecutor is bad. I've never met, though, a decent prosecutor. I do believe there's some good cops out there, but the bad cops override the good cops, which is sad.
Right.
So, and they need to be held accountable just like we do. And when you have a wrongful conviction protest in October, we got to have all the signs. We're going to have one big sign with as many people that claim to be innocent on it. And then when we go to Cleveland this month, we're going to do the same thing.
Yes.
We want the media to see it. So we're going to get a big sign, which I'm going to ask Candace to get, and I'm going to collect names on it. Your son's name would be on Candace's, Shane's, what's the name? Shiloh's husband, fiance would be on it. You know, so we're get a whole list of people. All we can do right now is educate people, bring awareness to these cases, so that they could review it and they can look up any court records. That would be fine. It's public record, anyways. You know, and get on the ball with us and help these people out financially. We have a fundraiser going on Facebook. You could donate there. If you want to donate towards Jerry's son's case, contact Jerry. He's got some app or something where you can make a donation through. Because you're probably talking about $50,000 or more for each person that is really wrongfully convicted, at least.
Well, this case here itself, in my opinion, goes to show you how much the abuse of power that is there. Total abuse of power on all parties, from the prosecutors, from the attorney that did nothing, two of them, actually three of them, one in Columbus, and the judge himself.
Well, it's hard to believe, too, that we must not forget our governor. He made a comment a while back, on clemency. If you're down on rape or murder, you can forget it. So people like that, you really don't need an office because they're career prosecutor, basically. That's where he came from, Greene County prosecutor, and they think like a prosecutor. And how do prosecutors actually feel about being fair? I think he's proven it.
Well, he has proven it. Governor DeWine is not about prison reform whatsoever, in my opinion.
I don't support the idea to impeach him. He's only got 2 years left or so. But I think he needs to be held accountable.
He needs to be held accountable too, because if you're going to hold these offices, you need to change. You need to change with the times themselves. You know what? They scream and holler all of this crap. Black lives matter. They do matter. But so does everyone else.
Right.
Every life matters.
Yeah.
Whether you're on the street or whether you are in prison.
Right. And I agree with you on that. You know, we're getting a lot of backlash now. We will do another video another time, but we want to bring awareness out on what is happening. So,
Sounds good?
okay, Jerry. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
See, guys, that's Jerry Vaugh. His son is innocent of his crime. There was a lot of corruption involved in it. Please, people, help these good folks out. Help them bring their loved ones home. Check out our website at www.changestartswithusohio.org, www.changestartswithusohio.org. Our email is changestartswithusohio@gmail.com. Our phone number is 380-799-3868. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night.